I don't know about the rest of you, but I was really hoping that that was going to go better. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. My name is the Crimson Wolf, and welcome back to the Blue Review for our Premier League game versus Manchester United. Now, first of all, if you've seen my community post, you probably already know this, but once again, apologies for not being able to make a Chelsea countdown for this. I was at my cousin's engagement party, so had absolutely zero time, and the day before I was dog sitting, so had absolutely no time to make the video. So apologies for that. I will try to get better at making these videos, but as I promised, the Blue Review is here and I fully intend to get this out for you all. Now, if you are new to the channel around here, allow me to give you a quick overview of the Blue Review. Basically, I go through 8 points from the game, Lampard's famous 8 as I like to call it, and I give them a different colour card based on if it was a bad, mid or good performance. And there is a new card today. Normally it's only blue, yellow and red. We now have a fourth card which only one player receives. It is the gold card, and that obviously goes to the man of the match for this game. Without further ado, I will jump straight into the different cards, and we do have one red card to go through, and it does annoy me that I have to keep putting him in red, but the performances are not getting much better. It's Robert Sanchez. Compared to some of his recent performances, this was nowhere near as bad as some of them have been. It wasn't as bad as like the Brighton game or the Liverpool game or anyone like that, but he still played a big part in the goal we conceded. Now, I'm going to talk about the other responsible party for this in a little bit, but basically the ball is lobbed into the box by Casemiro. Højlund is on the end of it, takes a pretty bad touch, to be honest. All Sanchez needs to do was just herd him away from the goal so that he couldn't take a shot or get anything off of it. Instead, he dives in, misses the ball completely, takes Højlund out of the ankles, and Man United have a penalty. He doesn't save it, and Man United go 1-0 up. It wasn't one of Sanchez's worst games, but it sure as hell wasn't one of his best. He was very responsible for that penalty. There is another person who is royally responsible for it, and I will get onto them. My point is just being proven, which is that he is not a sustainable number one. Maresca has been coming out and defending him, which I understand why, for two reasons. One is because if he comes out and says, no, he was shit, and I'm dropping him, that's causing so many problems. It upsets people in the dressing room, it upsets Sanchez, upsets just a lot of things. So he's never going to do that. He has to be shown backing his players, otherwise we look like a divided club. There's only so much Maresca will be able to tolerate before he says, enough's enough, and either gives Jorgensen a chance or just goes and gets a new number one. We're playing Arsenal this weekend, and everybody and their dog knows what happened last time we played Arsenal at home with Sanchez in goal. 2-0 up, and he threw the game away. He will know that going into that game, and hopefully he'll have it in the back of his mind of, do not screw up again. We will never let him hear the end of it if he does it again. Was it one of Sanchez's worst games? No, but because he played a crucial part in the penalty that we conceded, I'm going to give him the red card. Moving into the yellow cards, and this is probably the most yellow cards I've ever given for a game. Kind of shows you how low the quality of the game was. It wasn't a good game, I'll be honest, it was boring. The first half had next to nothing in it, apart from like one Cole Palmer flick. There was like no excitement in the first half. All the interesting stuff happened in the second half, and even then there wasn't that much interesting. It wasn't a particularly interesting game. Regardless of that fact, the first yellow card is for the referees. I probably would have neglected to talk about the referees, because if I don't talk about them, that usually means they've had a pretty good game. And they were. I think Rob Jones had a pretty decent game. I think United fans would probably disagree with that, because they were getting very pissed off about the fact that he was giving us all the 50-50s. In my opinion, rightfully so, but I think there were a couple that he probably could have given the other way, and I wouldn't have argued against it. I think he was having a good game. He wasn't card happy as well. I think only one, maybe two of our players got booked, and I think only about 2 or 3 of theirs did. So I think it was a largely okay game. However, there is very much one incident in this game that has to be put under a goddamn microscope, Because how the hell did Lisandro Martinez stay on the pitch after going studs up into Cole Palmer's knee? How the hell have the VAR looked at that and said, that's not a red card? How have they looked at that and said it's not a red card? I don't understand it. First of all, fuck Lisandro Martinez. I don't like the guy. I really don't. He's a nasty bastard. Fuck that guy. I don't like him in the slightest. I'll let Rob Jones go for giving him the yellow card initially because I don't know if he had a clear view of it or not. But then how the hell the VAR has looked at that and said, oh yeah, that's just a yellow and not a red? I don't know. The wording they used was reckless, not dangerous or something like that. And my argument to that is, yes, it's reckless, but that's still justification for sending him off. It's insane. I don't know how he wasn't sent off. If it wasn't for that, the rest would have pretty much had a perfect game from me. It was until that moment when I was just like, how the fuck has he stayed on the pitch after doing that? That aside, I think they had a pretty good game, but that's absolutely bullshit. The second yellow card goes to Wesley Fofana, and I mentioned there was a second party involved in conceding the penalty. Wesley Fofana is that second party, because when that ball is played into the box by Casemiro, Wes is standing a few good feet from Højlund and goes up to win the header. It goes right over his head because he misjudges the height of the ball and lands at Højlund's feet. He should have been stood right in front of Højlund, ready to head that ball away. Why he was stood away from him instead of right next to him so that he could stop him from getting the ball, I don't know. His inability to judge the height of that ball led to Højlund getting it in the box and led to Sanchez having to make that ridiculous challenge, which cost us the penalty. However, the reason it is a yellow and not a red is because over the course of the game, I actually think Wes played quite well. There were a couple moments here and there, but largely he locked up Højlund and then some. Like, Højlund got absolutely nowhere near the ball. Literally had one touch in the box, which was, incidentally, that incident when Casemiro lofted the ball into the box. One touch in the box in the entire game. I don't rate Højlund in the slightest, by the way, but that's ridiculous. So Wes locked him up royally. We started to see his ability to use his pace now, which is really good. And against someone like Rasmus Højlund, who is actually quite quick, that is really good to see. I think Wes did have a good game, but as I said, that moment with the penalty does bring it down. And he is having those kind of moments at the minute. From the Bournemouth game, admittedly, that was Wes's fault entirely, because Wes played a horrific back pass. Admittedly, that was Wes's fault entirely, because he played a horrific back pass to Sanchez, and Sanchez came off his line, had no real way to go but bring him down. Now, thankfully, Sanchez did save that one. There was the one in the Newcastle game, another stupid back pass from Wes, and thankfully Sanchez put Isak off long enough for Caicedo and Colwill to deal with it. And then there was this one, which we didn't get away with. We do need to sort these stupid mistakes out. But other than that, I think Wes actually played a good game. The third yellow card is for Enzo Maresca. And this is for a couple things. The primary of which is, I don't understand why he insists on playing Malo Gusto over Marc Cucurella. The only justification I can think of is that he obviously knows he has to play Reece James, because he's Reece James, but he doesn't want to push him too hard, so he's making him play in the back three, but we need to invert the right back, not the left back. He's choosing to play Malo Gusto with Reece James at left back. That's the only thing I can think of. But honestly, just invert Reece. Like, he's played 2 full 90s now, which is an improvement from last season when I don't think he played 1. He should be more than good enough to be able to invert. If he can't do what Gusto's been doing and making, like, these number 8 runs through the pitch, just make him play like the 6 in midfield. He can do that. He's more than capable of doing that. But we do need to be inverting the right back, because then it puts Levi and Wes in accommodating positions. Wes is the most comfortable when he's playing in the right of a back three, and Colwill is the most comfortable playing in the centre. And when you have Cucurella on the left of a back three, that's perfect for them. And I think Maresca did realise this quite quickly, which is why we saw Gusto substituted at half-time for Cucurella. I think he probably could have made a couple of other substitutions a bit quicker, and I think maybe bringing on someone like Nkunku maybe could have helped us win the game. I think he probably could have been a little bit more proactive with his substitutions. I don't think Mudryk was necessarily the player I would have brought on. He brought on Enzo. I think that was the right decision, because Enzo is a midfielder you bring on when you're looking for a goal, and that's what we were looking for. He nearly scored one as well, which is so annoying. With any luck, Marescas becomes a little bit more urgent with his substitution, so hopefully that comes to fruition quite soon. But largely a average game from the manager. Moving into our final yellow card for Cole Palmer. I'm not going to say he was marked out of the game, but I think there just were a lot of problems. One of the initial issues is he is going up against two defensive midfielders. Man United lined up with a midfield pivot of Manuel Ugarte and Casemiro, who are both obviously sixers. They're defensive midfielders. Palmer shouldn't have really had a problem with him, but he was struggling. In the first half, he was playing out as like a left 8, which wasn't suiting him at all. He switched to the right and looked a little bit better in the second half. I think he was just quiet a lot of the game. I think one of the problems is he's having to shoulder the burden of chance creation all by himself. And this is where we see the disbenefit of not having Enzo Fernandez in the side. Because Enzo Fernandez is easily our most creative midfielder by a country mile. And when he's on the pitch, he is able to create chances for other players. When he's not on the pitch, only Cole Palmer can really do that kind of thing. When both of them are on the pitch, they're both doing it. Meaning, if Palmer's getting marked out of the game, you've got Enzo there to help unlock him a bit more. And it's no coincidence that some of Palmer's best performances this season, Brighton being the prime example, have come when Enzo has been the one doing a lot of the chance creation. I think Enzo does really bring something to this side. I appreciate what Romeo Lavia brings to the side as well. I think we lose a little bit with him. So we do need to sort a little bit more of a strategy out for it, for what we're going to do, because I don't think it's a perfect idea having Lavia played over Enzo. It's not exactly a perfect idea playing Enzo over Lavia either, for the record. But it's what I've been saying with Enzo. He does his job quietly, and it's a job that needs doing, and he's the one that does it. Like, this is his job. He is a chance creator. We don't get that with Lavia because he's a defensive midfielder, and Caicedo, yes, he can do it, but he's not as good as Enzo is. So we do lose a little bit without Enzo in the squad. And I think Palmer's suffering from that a little bit. He is Cole Palmer, so chances are he's going to bounce back in the next game anyway. We do need to figure out ways to stop him from getting just overpowered and marked out of the game a little bit, because it's coming a little bit of a pain in the ass. Moving into the blue cards. First off, it is a blue card for our captain, Reece James. And first of all, it's always nice to see Reece playing another game the entire way through. I think he largely had a really good game defensively. I don't think he was massively contributing to the attack, but he was having a really good game defensively. When he was up against Marcus Rashford and especially Alejandro Garnacho, he did have really good spells against them. They very rarely beat him. There were little instances towards the end of the game where Garnacho was having a bit of a momentum boost against Reece and he was getting the better of him, which we do need to sort out. We can't be allowing that to happen, especially at 1-1. For the most of the game, Reece locked him up. Again, it's the same thing we always say. Wingers have to pass the Reece James test. Very few have done it. Garnacho is not one of them. Overall, solid game from Reece. Nothing really much to complain about, apart from that little bit at the end when he lost control of him a little bit, but other than that, good game from Reece. Second blue card goes to Pedro Neto. Neto, for me, has 110% nailed down his spot in the starting 11. Whether it's on the right wing or on the left, he's 100% in this team now. Some of the reason we were using to justify Madueke's place in the team was that Madueke tracks back. Well, Neto was doing that yesterday. He was tracking back. He was helping out defensively on that right wing, a little bit on the left as well. And he was just doing some really good things, Neto. He was probably our most dangerous outlet in that first half, I think. We didn't get the ball to him that often, but he was probably our most dangerous bit in that first half. But yeah, he has 100% cemented his place in this team. Whether it's playing left wing with Noni Madueke on the right or playing right wing with Jadon Sancho on the left, that's for the manager to decide. But 100% Neto has earned his way into this team. The inaugural gold card for the man of the match. The man who scored the goal, the best player on the pitch from either side by a country mile. He covered every inch of that pitch and more. Moises Caicedo. First of all, the goal is spectacular. We've all been saying that Caicedo is a Kante regen, and Kante always scored spectacular goals against Manchester United. Well, there you go. A brilliant goal on the volley, off of the head of Casemiro, right into the bottom corner. It's a brilliant, brilliant goal, and obviously got us back in the match very quickly after we conceded, which is always good. But Caicedo was just the best player on the pitch. He was covering everywhere. They were actually terrified enough of him that they were starting to mark him out of the game at one point, because they were that terrified of him, because his ability to win the ball back is impeccable, and he knows how to distribute it after he gets it, and that's what makes Caicedo such a good player. I honestly think he has been our player of the season so far. I know Palmer is Palmer at the end of the day, but I actually genuinely do believe Caicedo has been the player of the season. This will probably change when Palmer goes and drops another masterclass in his next game. Caicedo has had, I think he's been our most consistent player. Since that first game versus City, but I don't think he played particularly well, and he wasn't particularly great versus the Wolves game, but beyond that point, he has played amazingly. Like, for me, he was man of the match versus Palace. I don't think he was particularly impressive versus Bournemouth, but it was nothing bad. He was good versus West Ham. He was solid versus Brighton, solid versus Forest. Best player on the pitch, not named Curtis Jones in that game versus Liverpool. Again, solid versus Newcastle, and again, really good versus Manchester United. I think he has been our most consistent player this season. And, I mean, you look at his SofaScore ratings, they never drop below a 7. So, that's absolutely brilliant from him. So, 100% man in the match, 100% the best player in the pitch. The one thing that tells you how good he's been is that everybody is now pushed up about his stupid price tag. That's the thing everybody said about Declan Rice. You know he's doing well when nobody's even mentioned the 105 million price tag. And now nobody's mentioned about Moise Caicedo. And Moise Caicedo is having a much better season than Declan Rice. 100% Moise Caicedo, man of the match. Absolutely phenomenal in the middle of the park today. Really good from Caicedo. So that was my thoughts on our game versus Manchester United. Was it worth the wait? You tell me in the comments down below. But thank you all very much for watching. Please, if you could, leave your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. I would really appreciate it. And with that being said, I am the Crimson Wolf, the rarest Chelsea fan on the internet, and you have all, as per usual, been amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Good luck with it.